Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Saptakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Yeah. Okay, so we are reading from the 6th conversation in this book. Vrindavan, March 12, 1974. Varnashrama to save a troubled world. So I guess devotees can take turns and start reading.
Every ISKCON center should be a Varnashram college. Leadership means to see which man is suited to which work and to engage every resource properly. It is a sign of mismanagement if people are not inspired to work. Varnashram management will end unemployment and famine. Srila Prabhupada. The politicians' business will be to exploit the poor citizens, and they will be embarrassed and harassed so much. By one side, no sufficient rain, and therefore scarcity of food, and the other side, taxation by the government. In this way, the people will be so much harassed that they'll give up their home and go to the forest. Very pitiful. Unless they take to Krishna consciousness, they'll not be saved. The Varnashram college has to be established immediately. Wherever we have got our center, a Varnashram college should be established to train 4 divisions, 1 class Brahmana, 1 class Kshatriya, 1 class Vaishya, and 1 class Shudra. But everyone will be elevated to the spiritual platform by the spiritual activities which we have prescribed. There is no inconvenience, even for the Shudras.
Passerby, Jai, Prabhupada, Hare Krishna. Should I keep saying the names, or can I just read, because everybody's reading, right?
Yeah.
Are Shudras supposed to take sannyas also? No. Why? Shudras?
Better say the name, otherwise it's weird.
Huh?
Say the name.
Prabhupada, those who are Shudras should not be allowed to take sannyas. Only those who are qualified Brahmanas will be allowed to take sannyas. Bhagavan. Kshatriyas used to take sannyas too, Prabhupada. Kshatriyas, some of them, not all. Guru Das. Yudhishthir Maharaj, Prabhupada. Guru Das. Yudhishthir Maharaj, Prabhupada. They did not take sannyas, but they left home. There is no need of accepting sannyas. One has to perform the devotional activities. That is real thing. Simply by changing dress, one does not improve, unless he takes to the serious principles of devotion service. But in the Kali Yuga, they'll think, because I have changed my dress, I have become a sannyasi. You see?
Can sit here.
Because I've got a sacred thread, now I'm a Brahmana. No, there must be regular training. Hare Krishna.
Jagadisha. Srila Prabhupada. In a Varnashram society is Prabhupada. Jagadisha. In a Varnashram society are most of the citizens Shudras? Prabhupada. Jagadisha. The majority of citizens Shudras in a Varnashram society. Prabhupada. Yes. The number of Shudras is always bigger. Just like in the university education, the number of graduates and postgraduates, there are less. Others are big, number bigger. Bhagavan. The whole idea is that at the end of everyone's life, everyone is required to leave home, perform devotional activities, but not necessarily take sannyas. Prabhupada. Devotional activities, either he leaves from home or not leaves, that doesn't matter. We must continue from the very beginning. For the management of affairs, we must be required to divide. Because there are different classes of brain, so those who have very intellectual brain, they should become brahmanas. Those who are fit for management and protection, they should be trained as a kshatriya. And those who are fit for producing food, taking care of the cows, they should be trained as vaishya. And the balance, they are all shudras. This is the division. Everywhere you will find this division, natural. One class of men, very intelligent. One class of men, very strong, good brain for management, administration. Inside, Jai. One class of men, fit for tilling the ground, field, and produce food, take care of the cows. And the balance, Shudra. That's all. So in our society, this division should be there. the most intelligent class of men. They should be engaged in preaching, reading books, and instructing, taking care of deity worship, temple, and another class should be strong managers, that things are going on nicely. Everyone is engaged, not that eating and sleeping. Everyone must be engaged, employed.
So if one is very much adapted for eating and sleeping, he should be engaged with plows. You see, he must be activity. Otherwise there must be dysentery, eating and sleeping. He cannot digest. Yes. So in this way our society should be managed, not that give me second initiation as sacred thread, and after getting it, business finished. Now I'm liberated. Let me eat and sleep. This should be stopped. We have got 50 bighas of land, and I have calculated in Mayapur, setting aside 20 bighas for the temple and grazing ground for the cows, 30 bighas of land. The production should be 300 mounds of grains and 300 mounds of grain. I have calculated how much you can. Bhagavan, 1,500. Prabhupada, no. According to our present calculated about 180 mounds. So there should be 120 mounds excess of grain. Instead of excess, they want 10,000 rupees for maintenance. This management is going on. These things are not discussed in GBC. So what kind of discussion was there? Simply talking, no practical? And the estimate of budget was presented for 10,000 rupees per month. And when it was scrutinizingly studied, immediately it came down to 6,000. So what kind of budget? So management should be in that way that nobody is sitting idly. Automatically he'll fall sick. Sickness means idleness or excess eating. Sleeping, no excess, no less. Yukta hara viharasya yoga bhavati dukhaha. Bhagavad Gita 6:17. He who is regulated in his habits of eating, sleeping, recreation, and work can mitigate all material pains by practicing the yoga system. Yukta means actually what you need. Aside Hare Krishna, so everywhere. In each center, this system should be introduced, and there must be practical application of the Varnashrama. At the same time, this program of devotional service, then it will go on very nicely.
So this is a big subject. You see, so you have Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, and the way in which one knows what's one's nature is first it must be dharmic. Dharmic means it must be according and fit it first. So dharmic means it cannot be sinful. One has a propensity to, I don't know, one is very good at being a bartender. As you may be very good at a bartender, but that's not your, just because you're expert at mixing cocktails and all of that, doesn't make that as one's natural profession. It's sinful. And in this regard, most of the jobs in the modern world fall in that category. A lot of the jobs. Because these are all adharmic things. But then there are dharmic things. Right? So Maharaj was giving the example of a weaver disciple. So he come from a weaver caste. So you weave baskets, make all this kind of things. And he said he never done it in his life, but that's the family background that he came from. When he started doing it, he felt extremely satisfied. One thing about this is that naturally you know how to do it. You're confident when you go into such an activity, it feels like a fish in water. You may not be really taught so much, but you pick it up and it just works. Sometimes it works so well you can't really explain how it works. Such people, there are many people who may be very expert at something and they can't teach it to others. Have you seen people like that? They're very good at something. They're really good at it. They know how to do it, but they can't train others. Because it's not an intellectual thing. It runs in the blood. It just happens. And if it's not sinful, then that's one of the abilities, natural abilities they have. And you'll see, even is a 2-minute gap, they might be doing something related to that. And so, of course, even in that category, you have recreational stuff that might just be talents, and then you have occupational duties. So as far as Varnas goes, we're talking about occupational duties. Somebody may naturally know how to sing, but that doesn't mean that they can maintain themselves by singing. To maintain yourself as a singer, you need to really be really good. And that doesn't mean that you just know how to compose a few songs and now you think, I want to be George Harrison or some nonsense like this. It doesn't work like that. So when one knows that natural ability, then if one molds one life according to the natural ability, even though it's a material thing, it feels satisfying. And if it can maintain oneself, then there is no anxiety in life anymore. There is no dissatisfaction. It might not provide a lot of money or whatever, but it's enough to maintain oneself. And this karma, which is the activity, it forms the basis of the division of the 4 varnas. Now the problem is, in the modern world, is that we're not simple, right? Like Prabhupada is saying here, right? This is, as I was reading this, Prabhupada is saying that one who is very much adapted for eating and sleeping, he should be engaged with plows. Here, think about it. One who is very much adapted to eating and sleeping, he is not going to be very good at attending Mangalarti. Okay? Because he likes to eat and sleep. So he'll eat well, and work very hard, but little on the spiritual side, little, because he's interested in eating and sleeping. Now, see, Brahmana is not interested in just eating and sleeping. He's not a Brahmana, obviously. But it means physical labor. So you engage them in physical labor. And I've seen this. I've seen in India, back in the day when we used to have cycle rickshaws. Now they don't have it anymore. The cycle rickshawala they used to call them. And they eat. It's this annakut every day. And there's nothing in it actually, but it's just this big annakut of rice. Big pile of rice. Mostly just,
Hard, like coarse rice.
not very good rice, mostly water, little yogurt, and full scoop of chili powder.
Yeah.
Or hot pickle. And they eat like this.
Take it down.
They when they take it down, they are happy. They feel like this is the best thing. And and they like it. They like it very much. And they eat a lot compared to other people may eat many varieties of things, but it's still not, it's a huge quantity. But they don't look fat. They're very strong people. What was it, who was telling the other day? Were you saying that about the porters in India to me? Yes. And those porters, they don't look like bodybuilders. But the amount of weight they lift, it's ridiculous. So they eat a lot. And, it goes into working. And they're generally quite healthy. I've seen these people. They smoke a lot, this, that, drink everything. They don't have no health issue. No health issue. Because they work very hard. So somehow body gets maintained. But now you cannot expect them to be very philosophical minded. But they're simple. And this is the complication that we face today in society, is that people are not simple. The same rickshawalas back in the day, they would have just been satisfied doing that as long as they had enough food and a place to live. But today they are taught and trained to aim for something that doesn't belong to them. Everybody has to become a success. Everybody has to become a leader. And their son also has to become some IAS officer. And that's how the movies also portray all these things. That's movie after movie after movie. This is the propaganda. And your society is messed up. Because, and so now, it sounds very logical. Yeah, eating. But to get people like this and implement this is the challenge that we face. Because we want to show this. Now, if he's simple, then he can live in a Varnashrama. Because if you're going to live on a farm, you need to be simple. You're not going to get all the luxuries, but you will get enough to maintain yourself, and then you just do this activity and just be satisfied. But that satisfaction is very hard to find today. And this is the challenge that we are facing when we are establishing these farm communities, because if in one sense you want to establish Varnashram, and you want to engage people who are adapted for eating and sleeping, but if he's not simple-minded, then he must be Krishna conscious, because otherwise there's no hope of at least accepting the instruction on the basis of attachment to Guru and Krishna consciousness and Krishna himself. Because, and then you see that people don't come for Mangalarti, then it becomes a problem. But ideally, just so we all understand, in a Varnashram model, everybody isn't expected to go to the temple in the morning. The Brahmanas do. The Brahmanas do, immediately followed by the Kshatriyas. The Kshatriyas would also come in the morning, but they would come after the Brahmanas. The Brahmanas would be there, they would perform the morning pujas and things, and then the Kshatriyas would come later in the morning, also early morning, but later. And they would come for having darshan, and generally there would be a process where in some places like Thiruvananthapuram in Kerala, the king would come and read what's going on in the kingdom, what happened, what was the taxes collected, la 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 la. They would read this daily report to the deity. So this was a thing. But when I visited the which palace was this? Oh yeah, it was one of the Kerala palaces. There are palaces in Kerala, and I visited, and they would show the king's daily schedule. The king would wake up in the morning, and he'd be up by like 3:30 or 4 o'clock in the morning. What would he do? He'd rub oil all over his body and start practicing. Martial arts, lifting weights, and doing all these kind of things in the morning. Then he would take a nice scented bath, decorate himself very nicely, and then go to the temple. So when I saw that, I was like, okay, wow, just see, Kshatriya, the moment he wakes up, he is immediately engaged in a Kshatriya, thing. Okay, he goes and worships the Supreme Lord. He's a Dvija. He wakes up, by the time it's Sandhya, he's more or less closer to visiting the Lord at the temple and worshipping and all of that. But he has to do his martial arts. And the Brahmana has already started his pujas and all his morning rituals and sadhana and all of this kind of things. And the Vaishyas are also up, but they might be doing some other household duties or whatever, and then they come to the temple. And Shudras, they come to the temple some other time in the day. They visit, they also come. But the point is that it wasn't expected that everybody was going to be there in the morning. But this is the challenge we face in our Varnashram farm communities. We want to engage all kinds of people, and all kinds of people aren't going to be fully Brahminical, but then if they're not simple, then they start causing problems. But, and why? Because this Varnashram college is meant to discuss these kind of matters. And so, of course, there might not be an immediate solution for some of these things. This is where that 50% is remaining, and we have to keep trying. But now again, this moves into another direction, that the ability to work according to one's nature and become satisfied is an extremely wonderful thing, because it makes one very peaceful and calm. There is no anxiety. One knows there is not even so much preparation. It's so much according to one's nature. Somebody who has a business mind, you give him $10, his mind will run how he can turn that $10 into $100, and he didn't need to go to school for it. One who's a very good cook may think, I want to cook this, I want to do that. Sometimes he may refer to recipes and overall, but it's not like he has to mentally adjust himself to cook. Somebody who cooks out of duty, it's like they need to be informed 3 days in advance before they cook. And then they're like working towards it. Yes, yes, yes. And then every step as they enter into the kitchen is a calculation. And there's so much, So it's the difference between naturally engaging in one's occupation. When this occupation maintains oneself, you can understand how wonderful it is. Because it's like a fish in water. Fish knows what to do in the water. And so like that, and one becomes peaceful. In so much so that they like the activity so much that they find it relaxing. Forget about it being just the fact that they're natural. They find it therapeutic. When they're stressed, so they go and cook. Calms them down, feels very nice. Yes, I cook for Krishna, very nice, wonderful activity. Feels like, all his problems are gone. That's the beauty of the Varnashram Dharma. And so why in this sense, is it said, a Brahmana can perform the duty of a Kshatriya and a Vaishya. A Kshatriya can perform the duty of a Vaishya if required, and a Vaishya can only perform the duty of a Vaishya, and only a Shudra performs the duty of a Shudra. Why is it said so?
Because all these three classes don't have masters.
No.
I mean, the Brahmana doesn't.
No, but how is it possible? If Brahmana is happy doing a particular, how can he perform the duties of other?
Out of a forcing circumstance where he has to meet. We can see, for example, Dronacharya. He farms for some time, then he becomes a Kshatriya, although he's a Brahman. It's an example.
No, but how is that possible? How is it possible?
He sees that all occupational duties are in relationship to Krishna, so that whatever he does, he sees that it's assisting towards that.
So it's out of a sense of duty. It's out of a sense of duty. Out of a sense of duty, and obviously the Brahmana has the highest sense of duty, and therefore he sees the need, and he is able to perform, although he may not be able to. He doesn't feel like this is his duty. He understands that this is not something that he would choose to do if he had a choice whether he had to do it or not. But out of duty, and because the Brahmana has the highest sense of dharma, he performs this out of duty. And why is he able to do that? Because of good intellectualism. By intellectual capacity, he overcomes his emotional nature. It's not a permanent thing, but he's able to do it. And therefore, a Brahmana can act as a Kshatriya and can act as a Vaishya temporarily. Temporarily, because by intellectually, he figures how to do it. It might not be the natural thing, therefore, obviously, he is not going to be as expert sometimes. Some Brahmanas can even become expert, like Dronacharya. Expert in martial arts, but not expert Kshatriya. Yes. Otherwise, he would have, the thing is, he was a Kshatriya, he performed the role of a Kshatriya, but that was one of the reasons why the whole downfall happened, is that he stayed too long in that role. And a Brahmana, as a king, recognizes that my situation is not ideal. Why? Because it's not the duty. Kshatriya rejoices in that. And if a Brahmana rejoices, then he has fallen. Then he has already fallen from the position of a Brahmana. So, a Brahmana does it out of a sense of duty. Kshatriya has little lesser sense of duty, but is able to do it, which is why the Pandavas are so glorified. And the Pandavas, actually, a Kshatriya, it's not even practical for him to be engaged as a Vaishya. It's not even, only a Brahmana is able to do all these things because he has a sense of duty. But a Kshatriya, the Pandavas, this was the reason, they needed to be administrators. But they were glorified, and this is why that 13th year incognito was so amazing, because it's very difficult for Kshatriyas to do this. And Duryodhana thought, impossible, impossible. We will discover them. How can they be? How can they be incognito? How can a Kshatriya be incognito? He's an administrator. He's a king. Everybody will know when there's a king, wherever in the world. So how can he be incognito? But they, what did they become? Huh?
No.
They acted like in the
No, they acted. One of them, some of them, actually Brihannala in that sense, teaching music. You know, music
Change the
for
body
the princess. I'm not personally. I mean, if you can find some reference that this is a Vaishya or a quality, from what I understand, it's a Shudra thing. And because it's just an art, form of art. Shudras also know art. And Sahadev, cowherd boy.
Cowherd boy, yeah.
So Vaishya.
Nakula was a horseman.
Nakula was a horseman.
Bhima was a cook.
Horseman is Shudra actually. Because
Yes, Sutta.
Sutta, horseman is Shudra. Then Yudhishthir Maharaj, minister. Technically, practically Brahminical. Brahmana-like. And Bhima, cook.
Kanka.
Cook. Cook is a Shudra. This is employed with a master. That is why the Pandavas are glorified. And why were they able to do this? Because they were devotees of Krishna. This is why we are talking about this. Because they were devotees of the Supreme Lord. They proved that they were transcendental to such things. And this is very relevant in our context. Because sometimes we also get hung up, my nature, this nature, that nature. But the thing is, we have to start this system. And the only way we're going to be able to do this is to actually become fully Krishna conscious. Otherwise, we cannot do this. It's not going to be possible. It's going to be very difficult. There's going to be multiple roles. It's not my nature, not my nature. Okay, everything is going to go to hell, that's all. And we also won't be provided for. That as the society gets established, there's going to be so many needs. We may have to engage in activities that is just need. Okay, you have some sense of duty. So now you become in charge of this thing. Oh, no, I don't want to become in charge. I have to deal with 5 other people. It's not my nature. Then it's never going to happen. So why are we doing? So the first part of our conversation, we spoke about how it's nice to be able to serve and engage one's occupation duty according to one's nature. But in order to establish that, we have to see the other side of the story, which we are seeing from the example of the Pandavas. That we have to, and therefore Srila Prabhupada, not only did he want the Varnashram system established for those who are unable to become fully Krishna conscious, but he wanted that those who are Krishna conscious show an example of Varnashram for the others. Even though they may particularly not need it, they do it out of duty and they show it out of example. So which is why, initially, at least in our farm communities, it is important that everybody comes to the morning program. Otherwise, nothing's going to happen. We cannot, there's no way we are going to be able to transcend our different natures. And our natures may be conducive, may not be conducive. The other thing is we are Varnashankara, that's the other thing. We may think that we have wonderful pure natures of being a Vaishya or a Shudra or a Kshatriya or a Brahmana. We have nothing, we are Varnashankara. It's a big mess inside. So that also is there. So maybe the children of this generation, they may have some symptoms that are closer to such more distinct traits. But we're just discussing the signs here. So, okay, any questions about this? Okay. Yeah.
In the Varnashram system,
Is it even on?
Yeah.
I didn't see that green thing. Yeah.
the traditional system is the Kshatriyas provide the wealth for the community. So in the modern
Kshatriyas provide
wealth,
wealth.
yeah, by taxing like the
They don't
Yeah.
provide wealth. Kshatriyas, yeah, Vaishyas provide wealth. The Kshatriyas collect that wealth in the form of taxes.
right. So in the modern day context, how would that be applied?
I'm sorry.
So the Kshatriyas are collecting taxes
Yeah.
to provide for the community.
Yeah.
How would you apply that in 2025, 2026 for Kshatriyas in modern day Krishna consciousness?
Well, first of all, we don't have Kshatriyas,
Right.
right? That one of the qualities of a Kshatriya, see, if you want to collect taxes, right, you need to be able to enforce. And you need to have some level of dominance over people who have accepted your authority, and they can't just run away from you. They can't. You don't pay taxes in a particular country. It's going to be problematic. They can, and of course, you can say, well, I can leave the country. How many people are able to leave the country? And you leave the country, just because you leave the country doesn't mean you can live in another country. Because there's only so many countries, and if you go to a country that doesn't care whether you're there or not, it's not probably a great country to live in anyways. So, in this way, they are able to tax people. See, people become obligated, right? And then, I better pay taxes or I'm going to jail. Although technically, they don't have to go to jail. They could probably just catch a flight and run away or something like this, but then they don't have a place to go. So the thing is, this taxation model, it only works. Right now, the problem is I can tax. But basically, someone will just say, to hell with you, and leave. And then what are you going to do? You understand? Like, right now, that it's not possible to implement that. Now, Srila Prabhupada, according to Prabhupada, it's not very difficult to imagine that the modern society is a very fragile society. And if we have a good example of family life, community, of producing one's own grains, of being attractive to people that we are preaching, and it's a vibrant community, then, and especially if you work towards self-sufficiency, then if say, America collapses or something like this, it splits into 5 countries, who knows? It can. Back when the British were ruling, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Nepal, Bangladesh, Burma, Thailand, Sri Lanka and India were all one country. All under the British flag of India. This was all India. Now, there's so many, I just listed so many countries. And the small country, Sri Lanka, wants to split into 2. So that's the world we live in. So the thing is that, when life that you offer becomes something that people, they don't want to leave, then you can actually allow more proprietorship with some penalties and taxation if rules are not followed, if things are transgressed. And then people will follow because they don't want to leave your country. They feel obligated. So they don't want to leave your, right now, the project, but the point is we're talking Kshatriyas. So right now this taxation, it won't, it might not really work in the current context. So, anything else? No. Okay. I wanted to, so before we go to this book, I wanted to read something. Okay, this is a nice article by a devotee on Facebook. The cow milk experiment and milk. Cow milk experiment. Dear vegans, I'm writing you all to let you know how much cows really hate being milked. Note, I hand milk and all my cows are cared for and protected for life, their full natural life. So this morning, I was half an hour late getting to milk Radha Dhasi, who was rescued from a commercial farm recently. She was being used on a beef farm to foster calves, and she was sold without the calves. When she first arrived, she was giving about 5 liters of milk a day. Now she is giving milk. Okay, I'm just going to read what he says. Now she's making milk just for our family and not calves. She is making 10 liters a day. The only explanation I can think for this is that she must really hate us for not being vegan, so she's trying to drown us in milk. In anxiety, because I was late, she was bellowing at me like a cow does for its calf. She was standing at the corner of the paddock, closest to the house, so she could ensure her bellows, her pleading cries would reach my ears. Mind you, the pasture she is in is a kilometer from the house, so she had walked all that way to stand near the house, calling to me to get me to hurry on. Of course, I was in anxiety, knowing that she was crying for me, so I ensured my wife felt the brunt of that anxiety, and I yelled at her to hurry up and finish her morning ablutions and to take care of our toddler, Vrindavani, so I could go and milk Radha. Not that our toddler can't get out and about on the farm, but she needed some attention. I don't know, he's written brekkie.
Breakfast.
Oh, breakfast. I see. Is this Australian, huh? This is Australian? Oh, so he's Australian, okay. I copied like ages ago. I don't even know when I copied this. But I found it recently and I thought, okay, I should read this out. Anyways, I digress. By the time I got the cow bales, Radha was pacing the fence and then stood at the gate. When I finally opened the gate, she almost bowled at me to get into the cow bales. She hates being milked so much that every day she stands perfectly with her leg back so that it's easier for me to get to her udder. When I finish milking her and open the door, she continues to stand waiting for her back scratch and hugs. Now she's eating grass all day with her friends Bhumi and Bharata in rotational fields, so they have fresh grass regularly. And she hates me milking her so much that tomorrow morning she will be standing at the gate to the cow bales, bellowing at me to get a hurry on, to let her in so that she can be milked. So I thought that was a nice.
Who is it? Hawaiian?
I don't know who it is. No, they're saying it's Australian. So I don't know who it is. I had copied this probably from Facebook a very long time ago, but I was searching some notes and I found this and I was like, oh, I should, read this. The devotees. So yeah, that's proof. Okay, so we are reading from this book of Bharachandra Prabhu of Goraksha. Okay. Okay. Lord Shiva becomes Pashupati. Once the calf of Surabhi was drinking milk from its mother's udders. Accidentally, while the calf was drinking, so the foam formed due to fast sucking by the calf. And the foam flew and fell on Lord Shiva's head, who was sitting nearby in meditation. Lord Shiva got angry immediately and saw the cows with his burning red eyes. Just as the powerful sun rays produce a rainbow upon striking water-laden clouds, the powerful stare by Lord Shiva produced differently hued cows from the golden-hued Kapila cow. Prior to this, there was only one colored cow, that is of the golden-hued one, known as Kapila. With great fear of Lord Shiva, some cows escaped and took shelter of the moon god. Those cows who took shelter of the moon did not change their colors. They remain till today as golden-hued cows called Kapila cows. At this moment, quickly taking control of the situation, Daksha, who was present nearby, said to Lord Shiva, "O Lord, in fact, Amrita, nectarian drink in the heavenly planets, has fallen on your head. cow milk does not become contaminated due to the drinking by its calf. In fact, there is nothing called uchishta or remnant in the case of cows. Amritena avasiktaha tvam no chishtam vidyate gavam. This is from Mahabharata. Just like the moon, God collects the nectar drink and distributes it through all his rays, similarly, cows collect nectar in the form of milk and distribute it. Just as the leftover of Vayu, Agni, Suvarna, Samudra, and other demigods, after drinking their nectar, is not contaminated, similarly, cow's milk does not get contaminated due to drinking by the calf. Cows with their nectarine milk and ghee protect the health of all the three worlds. Hence, everyone desires to obtain the nectarine pure wealth in the form of milk. Cows are known as Loka Jyeshtha, meaning seniors as well as the best of all living entities. They are known as Loka Vritti Pravritta, meaning one who provides opportunity so that all Varnas are engaged in their occupational duties. In fact, the word Gau is explained in the introduction of the book, also refers to the moon. And cows are the form of nectar emanating from the moon god, Soma Vishayandha Bhutaha. The nectarine moon rays fill the grains, known as aushadhi or medicine in Sanskrit, and the vegetables with rasa or content. The moon god is also the controller of the mind of the living entities. Food influences the mind. Ahara shuddhau sattva shuddhihi sattva shuddhau dhruva smritihi smriti lambe sarva granti nam vipra mokshaha. By performance of yajna, one's eatables become sanctified, and by eating sanctified foodstuffs, one's very existence becomes purified. By the purification of existence, finer tissues in the memory become sanctified, and when memory is sanctified, one can think of the path of liberation. Interestingly, the word gau also refers to the fire in yajna. So, I don't know if you're able to relate to this.
Where it's from?
Hmm?
There should be one.
Ahara Shuddha. I don't know where it's from. Prabhupada also quoted it.
Yeah, and Shamsundu also quoted it. Sri Vaishnav also quoted it.
So, I will look it up later. So the moon rays cause the grains to fill with aushadhi. So the grains are supposed to be medicinal in nature. And they are also the building blocks of the body. That's what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Annad bhavanti bhutani, that the living entities are literally made up of grains. If we don't take grains, the body is not properly maintained. So that doesn't align with the philosophy of fruitarians and other kinds of people. But this is what Ayurveda says, and this is what the Vedic Shastras say. That grains are very important. And similarly, the rasa or the taste in vegetables are also caused by the moon, which is also why sometimes we might, I don't know if we've noticed, but at least I've noticed that these artificial ways in which they grow vegetables out of a pipe. What is that thing? Hydroponics and things. That's from water.
Hydroponics is water.
It's just water. But anyways, it's artificial. It allows you to grow. It doesn't have that kind of flavor that you will get that is actually grown from soil and is actually done from a natural way. And the exposure of vegetables and all this to moonlight is said to be very, very beneficial. Therefore, transparent greenhouses are better than translucent ones because they allow the moon rays to penetrate. And the food influences the mind, that ahara shuddhau sattva shuddhihi. So that if your eatables are good, then it allows you to remain in the mode of goodness, sattva shuddhihi. Then sattva shuddhau dhruva smritihi, that then you also develop good memory, dhruva smritihi. Then smriti lambe sarva grantina, when you have good memory, then you can retain all the Vedic scriptures in your head. Smriti lambe sarva grantina, all the texts, grantina. And then vipra moksha, through that the Brahmana becomes liberated. Vipra moksha, he is able to achieve liberation. because he's able to remember. You don't remember. If we don't remember Krishna's instructions, we don't remember what's said in Bhagavad Gita, we don't remember what the Guru says, then how are you going to deliver yourself? Nothing. There's no hope. So that's how the grain. Now, why is it said like this? Because the cow is also related to the moon. So the cow does, and her milk and her products like ghee and other things, they have the same benefit. They also enable the growth of finer tissues for memory, which is then used for self-realization. Okay. In conclusion, Gorasa or Gavya, the products of mother cow, is equal to Amrita or nectar, which influences the mind to think towards the ultimate goal of life. Yajñai ravapyate somaha sacha goshu pratishtitaha. Daksha thus pacified Lord Shiva and then donated him many cows and one bull. Lord Shiva, being pleased, then made the bull as his carrier and ensigned his flag with the symbol of a bull. Thus, Lord Shiva came to be known as Vrishabha Dhwaja, meaning one whose flag is ensigned with the symbol of a bull. The demigods then conferred the title Pashupati, meaning Lord of animals, to Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva always resides amongst cows and hence came to be known as Vrishabhanka. Cows are most significant in this creation. They give life to all the three worlds. They are peaceful, pure, fulfill all wishes, and protect life in all forms, just like the nectar and moon rays. Thus we can understand how Lord Shiva, one of the 12 Mahajans, respects mother cow. This is Mahabharata, Anushasan Parva 77. I'll read one more story and there. Lord Shiva assumes the form of Nila Vrishabha, bull. Once upon a time, Lord Shiva committed some offense against the sages. The furious sages cursed Lord Shiva. Severely afflicted with a burning body, the Lord of the three worlds went to Goloka and started praying to Surabhi cows, which are the other form of Brahmanas. This is from Skanda Purana, Nagara Kanda, chapters 258 to 259. Lord Shiva said, O mother, I bow down to you again and again. With great pleasure you satisfy the living beings of earthly planets, planets of the demigods and that of the forefathers. The knowers of the truth, and after much deliberation, have come to the same conclusion. O Devi, you are the mother of Rudras, daughter of Vasus, the breath of the Adityas. Being satisfied, you bless all with desired perfections. In fact, you are determination, dhruti, satisfaction, tushti, offering in yajna, swaha and swadha, riddhi, wealth, perfection, siddhi, goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, fame, kirti, intelligence, mati, effulgence, kanti, chastity, lajja, illusory potency, mahamaya, faith, shraddha, and the bestower of all desire, sarvartha sadhini. Without you, there is nothing in the three worlds that can exist. You give satisfaction to Agni and other demigods, and you exist everywhere, be it movable or immovable. Devi, you exist in all demigods. You bring prosperity to the three worlds, and you are the well-wisher of all the three worlds. Hence, kindly bring cure to my body. O sinless one, I surrender unto you. You take away all the miseries of the world. Kindly be pleased with me. O one who is the source of Amrita, due to the curse of Brahmanas, my body is afflicted and is burning. Kindly relieve me from this condition. After saying this, Lord Shiva circumambulated her and entered into her womb. With the absence of Lord Shiva, there was chaos in the three worlds. The demigods prayed to the Brahmanas and pleased them, and then they found the whereabouts of Lord Shiva. The demigods reached Goloka, where there is unlimited milk, river of ghee, and ocean of honey. The perfected beings of Goloka carry yogurt and milk in their hands. In this Goloka, the demigods saw the son of Surabhi, named Nila, blue as effulgent as the sun. In fact, Lord Shiva himself was that bull named Nila. The demigods and sages there witnessed Nila was joyfully playing amongst wonderful cows of Goloka, such as Nanda, Sumanasa, Swarupa, Sushilaka, Kamini, Nandini, Medhya, Hiranyada, Dhanada, Dharmada, Narmada, Sakalapriya, Vamanalambhika, Krishna, Dhirga Shringha, Swipichika, Tara Toyaka, Shanta, Durvishahya, Manorama, Sunasa, Gauramukhi, Haridravarna, Nila, Shankini, Panchavarnika, Vinata, Abhinata, Bhinnavarna, Supatrika, Jaya, Aruna, Kundohini, Sudati, Charu Champaka, The son of Surabhi, the Nila bull, had reddish body, while face and tail yellowish in color, and the hooves and horns white in color. Lord Shiva, the personification of the four goals, Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha, was the same Nila bull. The demigods and sages started glorifying the bull Nila, who was Shiva incarnate. They said just by seeing the bull, the fruit of the Vajapeya Yajna can be achieved. Serving the bull is equivalent to serving the whole world. Simply by feeding green grass to the bull, the whole world becomes satisfied. Lord Janardhan always resides in the body of the bull. The demigods continued, anyone who hurts a bull, it should be understood that they are the most cursed ones, and such persons fall down to the darkest regions of hell known as Raurava. Anyone who touches you with their feet will get bound by heavy ropes and will have to suffer with severe thirst and hunger for a very long time in hell. And anyone with a stone heart hurts you or witnesses your suffering and does not do anything shall never obtain salvation from the cycle of birth and death. The demigods and sages then gave Nila Vrishabha a boon that on the 11th day of the demise of a person, the family of the deceased should bring a strong, well-built Nila bull, and on its left side make a mark of the chakra wheel, and on the right side the mark of a shula, trident. Then the Nila bull must be left between a herd of cows. This will bring prosperity to the whole world. The demigods, being pleased with such a ceremony, will free the deceased from various difficulties and troubles in the nether worlds and also bless them with good destination. This purificatory process is known as Vrishot Sarga. Such a ceremony used to be carried out widely in India. However, it is almost forgotten now. Thus, it is to be understood that cows and brahmanas belong to the same family but have different bodies. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Vancha kalpatrubhyascha kripa sindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.